to each and every one of you wonderful and amazing beings. We're just coming off of a holiday of Independence Day, which to me, it's one of the most valuable virtues that anyone can have. Independence. Just think about it. What does it mean? Independence means sovereign, means autonomous, means self-reliant, self-governors. Just being in charge of who you are, where you are, and what you are in any occasion, it's a position of power. Without independence, our power is taken away from us. And as a nation, it's kind of easier to see that a dependent country cannot thrive, cannot survive without being influenced, without being monitored, or without being controlled by another entity. But as a human being, it's very hard to see that. If we are not independent, then the options are not so good. Either we are dependent or we are codependent. And today I would like to go over all of these concepts or understandings, as I hope we can build it towards interdependence, which is another word that I really love, because it's not only independent, it's also connected with others. But let's go through it a little bit more systematically and see what it really means to be independent. What are the processes for independence? Well, the first part of it is individuation. And individuation is a process of growing up. As children, when we're born, we are completely dependent. We have parents, we have caregivers that we need to be there for us to take care of everything that we're going through, because we don't have a possibility or capability to take care of ourselves. So at birth, we are dependent. And then as teenagers, we start to grow a little bit more, and then that dependence becomes a codependency. Again, upon our parents, upon our family members, upon our peer group and society, and different ways that we see ourselves applicable in this understanding of ourselves. So as independent people, the first step is individuation, and through individuation, then we can reach to differentiation. Individuation is the part that we are understanding who we are. It's a self-realization, self-discovery. In Jungian psychology, that part of individuation is considered to be going into the subconscious or unconscious or collective subconscious, which is where we all come from, where all of our beings or models or metaphors are one, and we pull from the same energy, all of us. However, when we can bring it to our consciousness, that is individuation. That means we're coming out of that collective understanding of being into a more specific individualistic way of figuring ourselves out. So in that first steps, we need to understand who we are, what are we about, how we function. And that is not a very simple matter. As we grow up, we educate ourselves, we experience things, and we see ourselves being in touch with so many different ends of life, as we're discussing in every program about the balancing of the wheel or the wheel of well-being. We are subjected to our physical, mental, emotional, relational, recreational, environmental, spiritual, and financial aspects of life. But who is this person who's dealing with all these 8 areas? Well, that is an individuated person. But then differentiation is when we grow up and we are mature completely, and how we can figure out that my values are my values, and they're uniquely qualified to exist in this world and in connection with the other people. So it's not only that I'm valuable, it is how these values are uniquely mine, and I'm proud of who I am and what I am, and how this difference is beautiful. I don't have to be like somebody else. as who I am or you are, we are meaningful enough, we are good enough, we are capable enough to exist in this world as a unit of full capacity to take care of ourselves. That is independence, right? Because in an independent model, we are capable of taking care of our own needs while we able to see our differences with others and not be upset, not be jealous, not be less, not be judgmental about who we are, and be differentiated enough, be a unit that is totally autonomous and self-centered in a way that we can connect with other people. The obstacles that are happening on this way is, what if within this time of individuation and differentiation, we have not been able to really fully figure ourselves out in a way that who we are or how different we are or how valuable we are. So that would become an issue, right? Now that's when we get stuck with dependence and codependence. So there are so many issues with being a dependent person. As a dependent person, my values are not really considered as values because everybody else has value over me, as I am showing myself as weak, as a victim, as somebody who's constantly nagging, complaining, blaming others, not really feeling good about where we are. And a person who is dependent is consistently unhappy with life because they cannot really provide for themselves. They're constantly in the worry or anxiety of what if the person who's supposed to take care of me is not going to show up, or what if my financial situation is not going to get straight, or how about my relationship? If my relationship is a dependent relationship, what if that person is not there tomorrow and what's going to happen to me? So you see, the weakness or the lack of power that is created from being dependent is really huge, and it's substantially bothering us in a way that we are not happy with who we are, and we avoid responsibility for ourselves and what we do. Now, as codependent, it is really hard to overcome codependence because a codependent person doesn't really realize that they're codependent. They are feeling like powerful, but then this power is only there if somebody else is there and giving me value. In a codependent way, I'm only good in the eyes of others. If I'm not being seen as respectable, then I'm not respected, right? But is that true? If you can fulfill your own needs, and if you value yourself in a way that you're autonomous and you're keeping your boundaries, that the boundaries issue become really important in codependency, because a codependent person has merged with another person or other people. That means that we are not just that one unit, and we are just kind of connected to another being and using this person as a cane or as a support. And unfortunately for the other person or people who are supporting us in this way, they are codependent too. So it's not that we are kind of independent and they're independent and then we are connecting with each other. The codependence is like an enabler who is married to a drug addict or an alcoholic, and they allow them to get away with what they have because otherwise they're going to be bothered, otherwise they're not going to be feeling good about themselves. So it's easier to allow my partner to get away with drinking or using drugs, because if I want to confront this person, if I want to individuate and differentiate from this person, now I'm going to be suffering emotionally from the arguments or the lack of the relationship. So you see, in a codependent relationship, even the one who is the user is still connected to the one who's using, and they both are affected together in this codependent manner. Now, what we would like to be is independent, because as an independent person, just like a country, we are autonomous. We have our resources, we have our ways of coping with situations internally and self-protecting, self-preserving, and then at the same time we are capable of having good relationships with others, like other nations, and we can trade, and we can have embassies, and we can have some sort of a diplomatic relationship. However, each country is totally autonomous and independent, and we are, again, the same. As a person, if I am my own island and you are your island, now in these two islands we can have a bridge, and we can have some way of going through a ferry back and forth. We're just existing autonomously, and then we're able to communicate, connect, contact each other respectfully in a manner that everyone is appreciated and valued. The powerlessness in codependence is really losing self-worth and creating more obsessed feelings, controlling feelings, and feelings of not being good enough, which is another very important feeling that unfortunately a lot of my clients suffer from. I'm not feeling good enough. Why? Because I'm not feeling independent enough. Right? So if you're not feeling good enough, you need to look into why you're not feeling good enough, and in what areas you haven't done your work, in what areas you haven't completed yourself to become the full spectrum of who you can be as an individual who's significantly different from others. Because your DNA is different, your heritage is different, your conditions are different, your environment is different, your education is different, everything is different, right? Even if we're born in the same family with the same culture, we're still different. And this difference needs to be respected and appreciated, because each one of us individually is capable of feeling good, being complete, right? And complete in the terms, not in absolute, complete as who we are and what we are as we are. In this subject, again, Willow Wellbeing has been a pioneer of bringing all of these understandings together. As the founder of Willow Wellbeing, me and my wife, Coach Bonnie, we have focused on treating our clients, treating whoever that works with us in the same manner as an independent person who reaches out to us. We respect each person who comes to us because they are an independent entity. They don't need us. They don't come to us because they're in need of our support or our care. They come because they realize that as a person, as an individual, as a differentiated person, I would like to even take myself higher to that differentiation and the place that not only I feel good about my worth and my values, I'm also capable of enjoying my differences and still be okay with everybody around me. And that is where we can be helpful. That differentiation is completely yours and you can feel good about yourself. But now, if those areas of physical or mental are not covered enough, so physically if you don't exercise, then the rest of it is going to be falling apart. If mentally you're not educating yourself, if you're not working on your memory or the way that you process information, things are not going to be as good as and as independent as you want, because now you have to rely on somebody else for that information. You have to rely on somebody else for carrying you physically, right? And emotionally, if you're not up to par emotionally and you're not differentiated, then other people's feelings are going to be triggering you and you're going to be reactive and not working with people harmoniously. That affects your relationships, because now if you are dependent or codependent and you are in relationship, then imagine that relationship is already contaminated as two people who are not individuals are in this relationship. Two dependent or codependent people are in this relationship, which creates other problems. And then so on and so forth. If your environment is not inducive enough, then what happens? Then you're not really in charge. You're not in power to deal with your environment. So your micro environment, your immediate position in life, needs to be understood and well respected before you can bring yourself back to a larger environment and be a part of it, because the bigger picture is going to be different than the smaller picture. And that needs another new word that I want to share with you, actualization. And where we actualize means that we have understood all of these flaws and problems. We have gone through everything that could be understood. And actualization is when I'm taking in everything I have and I'm not backing away. I'm not afraid of it. I own it. I'm feeling it. I believe in it. And I'm centered enough to claim myself as who I am, as you are. Okay? So that actualization happens when we have worked through the first 6 spokes of physicality, mental, emotional, relational, recreational, and environment. And now the spirituality, which is that collective unconsciousness that we were talking about and needs to be coming to our conscious mind and understood, that gives us a back and forth way into this collective unconscious and the conscious mind that we have. So we become even higher in our being, because now we are not only this physical being that has physical conditions. Now we're beyond that in form of energy, and we're connected to a higher self, which is creating more independence for us, because our algorithm in that divinity is even more and more individualistic than collective. Okay? And then the last one is financial. How we benefit from all of this. As a human being, the more that I know myself, the more that I know my environment, the better that I can be one with everything around me harmoniously, in peace, then the effects are great, and we're going to be an independent entity in this universe. Here is to your independence. And I'm really recommending, if you have any questions, Wheel of Wellbeing has a lot of different programs and content that you may enjoy. If you go to the site and you take the wheel test, you definitely will find out in what areas you would like to pay more attention for individuation and differentiation, for growing up more and more and becoming the independent person that you are. Okay, so I invite you to take that test. Also, if you choose to become a member of our community, the Wheel Select, that would be beautiful, because we can be in touch directly with you. You can address all of your questions and concerns very directly with me and Coach Bonnie, and we are there to be supportive of you for your independence. Thank you so much for the time that you gave me, and looking forward to our next conversation this week. Have a blessed day. A healthy mind requires balance, and balancing the wheel is your guide to finding more happiness, healthier lifestyle, and a successful practice in whatever you do. I'm Dr. Daniel Sadigh, author of Balancing the Wheel, and you can find it on Amazon under balancingthewheel.com/book, or in the Audibles in audiobooks.com.